Hello. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I'm going to start with my presentation now. It's awkward looking at myself, so I'm going to not do that. Yeah, I'd like to thank you for having me. I'm going to start with a brief presentation of just who we are, because maybe you haven't heard of us before, but pretty much if you watch a program, it could be through our technology. So we started in the 1970s by John Ross, and it was taken over by his son about 30 years ago. And we've continued to grow for the last 30 years. We're majority owned by David, so we're a private company, which is really great because it means we can take all of our profit and we put it back into R&D. We don't have to answer to banks or to shareholders, or as the shareholders are actually other employees. So we answer to ourselves, which is really, really great fun. And yeah, we can basically decide what we want to focus on. As a company as a whole, we have over 1,000 employees around the world, so we're pretty busy. We're in 17 offices around the world, and as I say, yeah, we do a fair bit. I'm not going to read out this whole slide. You can always come and look at it in the record. So I'll just continue. What we do, we are in, I don't know, any market you can think of if it does live entertainment. So sports, entertainment, news, esports, live events, and then we do everything from social media to robotics to virtual studios, which is what I'm going to talk about more today. I just want to show you a slide of what we make, though. So we make our own motion graphics engines ourselves. We also do video servers and replay. We do production switches for cutting all your cameras and content together. We do social media moderation. We do control automation systems. We make robotic cameras, all sorts of shapes and sizes, from the ones that go on the ceiling to the ones on the floor to the ones you see at concerts whizzing around, the ones on the BBC, they're ours as well, to the LED screens that you see in advertising, to virtual production solutions, which is what I want to talk a little bit more about now. Firstly, I'll just reintroduce myself. So I am Simon from the UK. I work for Rocket Surgery, which is part of the Ross Video companies. My unofficial title is test pilot, which is a bit of a joke, but my official title is senior motion graphic programmer and designer. I'm going to talk a bit about Voyager. So Voyager is our tech that's used for virtual studios, augmented reality, and extended reality. So we're trying to standardize one tech for the different genres or different techs, different ways of doing virtual, I should say, and make it into one interface that's familiar for everyone. So it's not just a custom interface on every single job. So just like a lighting guy can go between different sets, and just like a camera guy can go between different locations, we think that the VS and AR and XR person should be able to do the same. So we obviously the trend now is using the Unreal Engine. So Epic Game are probably happy because, as you heard before, the film industry is loving it right now. We've actually it's obviously been used for previs, and now obviously things like Mandalorian, you're seeing it, actually ending up in the final cut, which is amazing. So from that, we thought, well, if you can do the final cut, then you can do live television, right? So that's where we came from. And with the Unreal Engine, you take advantage of the particle system, internal chroma key, real-time ray tracing. The internal chroma key wasn't there when we started. We had to write that ourselves, but then they added it, so that was cool. Real-time ray tracing, which is obviously newer as well, but that's been absolutely fantastic since they added that. Skeleton and IK animations, cloth animations, I don't know, dynamic real-time rendering, of course, it's the real-time Unreal Engine, complex lifelike materials and lighting. And one of the coolest things when you're working live is you often don't have much time to finish stuff. So the large community and marketplace is absolutely fantastic for grabbing models and textures especially, and just getting stuff done quickly, which is normally what you're trying to do. What we added ourselves on top of this, with our own software with Voyager, was talent reflections for VS and AR. So it's so important with Virtual Studio especially to give the talent a grounding, because there's nothing worse than a talent with no shadow or reflection, and they just look like they're floating there, and instantly anyone who's never even worked in TV will know that something's not right. They just don't look like they're there. Other one is so real world shadows and virtual shadows, talent and object tracking, so we can track the talent around the space and also objects they're holding. So you might have interactive things happen when they hold certain things in certain places. It can be quite cool. Also, we have UHD and 4K workflows, as well as 12G and IP workflows as well. So we are doing solutions using IP now, video over IP, as opposed to traditional SDI. As well as that, we added virtual camera moves. So why is that cool? Well, if you're using a robot or you're on a manual ped and you're doing a manual move, then you excuse me, I'm sorry. If you're doing a manual move on a ped, or you have a robot moving, you're locked to the tracking. What you can do is break away from the real movement, do a crazy move, fly around, and then come back and lock back into the real movement. So you can break away and do stuff that maybe looks kind of real, like a crane move, even if you don't have a crane. Or you can do something fantastical and then come back to your real actual cameras. Also, we have dynamic integration with data. We have integration with MOS, so that's for newsrooms. If you're working in news, everything in the newsroom, like the newsroom system, the automation, the graphics system, they all talk to each other via MOS. So that integration for news is really important. It means the journalist can write their story and it would pop up inside this studio I'm showing you here, for example. So this one here is completely virtual. So this isn't extended reality, this is virtual. And this one was designed to look like it's in Amsterdam. That's why it's raining, because it always rains there. And which is funny me saying that coming from London, but it does rain more there, I swear. And also we have dashboard integration, and we write our own language called Rosstalk, and it speaks that too, obviously. And we also do timecode-based triggering, so you can have a specific timecode, and no one needs to tell it to do anything. It will just happen. The video will play at the right time, things like that. So what do? We offer everything from trackless, which is basically runs a bit like a video game. You have your presenter. It's just on a still locked camera against green, and you use the old school billboarding technique, and you drop it into the scene, and you move your cameras around in virtual space. And obviously the person looks like they're in the place. It looks okay. It's an entry-level system that gets people off the ground. It's great for people doing from their homes, like YouTubers, things like that. It's really great for that kind of stuff. Then we do the augmented reality stuff. So that's a linear key. You've got tracking for the space, and then you have the graphics. The graphics can only ever be in front, but they look like they're in the space. You've got VS, which is traditional green, obviously, and then the kind of the trend at the moment, which is the extended reality, and a combination of those things. So I'm going to talk more about Voyager XR. So as I said, Voyager can be used for anything. So well, not anything, but for VS or AR or XR. So Voyager XR is the extended reality version. So I'm going to play a short video, hopefully. Let's just let it go. There we go. Just took a moment. So this is CCTV. This is live in China. And so this is an LED screen behind her, and then using extended reality. So obviously this is live in real time, and all this graphics is going on. So the great thing is the talent is stood in front of the LED screen, so you don't get that green backspill that you do with traditional green screen. And then the viewers at home see the extended, and of course the viewers inside the audience get to see the LED screen. So it's for live television, it's a win for the viewers in the audience who otherwise have to go to a green screen, which is just the most boring thing to go view if you're an audience. So LED is extended reality is so much better for the audience that's there, and then of course at home you see the finished result. I'm not going to play the rest. You guys have got the idea. The next slide is a really basic layout of how it's working for us. and most people, I guess. So you got your LED screen, you have your processors, you have your Genlock. All the systems are connected to the Genlock, so everyone's in time with each other. And then you have your tracking system on your camera. The tracking system sends information to the rendering machines, whichever rendering you're using, and of course then it offsets based on the movement that you do on your camera. So looking at that, how do we actually get the tracking? So we support, by default, we support manual mounts. So that could be Vinton, Shotoku, Telemetrics, Moses, Jimmy Jib. Obviously, you can put physical encoders onto CamMate or Jimmy Jib, eCrane, eQuipment, TrackMan. We also do robotic systems, so obviously we make some, and on our own ones that we make, like Furio Sky Dolly and Furio SE and CamBots, we put encoders inside them. Some are physical, some are digital, and then we also support Panasonic and Sony robots, and then we also obviously support optical tracking. So similar in that it works similar to tracking in post-production, but it's in real time. So it's looking for points of contrast, and you build up a points cloud. And we support for that NCAM, Moses, Stipe, Blacktrax, motion analysis, and solid track. So yeah, if you name it, we can track it pretty much. Yeah, so depending on what you're doing, we can track in different ways. And yeah, the tracking systems, it varies depending on what you want to do and also where you are. Particularly dark rooms are annoying for the optical tracking, so that's when your kind of physical trackers can be better. There are solutions for that for the optical trackers though, such as LED. Infrared. So you put infrared lights up, so at least the other cameras don't get bothered by them, and you can track them. Or you can put them on the ceiling and point the camera upwards. The tracking camera doesn't have to point the same way as the physical camera, so that always helps. Here's some examples of us playing around. So this is an LED screen without obviously the extension, and so you can see here the talent standing in front of various sets in front of LED screens. One of the biggest advantages obviously is the not having the green spill, and as I said already, if you're doing live television, you have an audience, way more engaging, way better. So as we kept working on our interface, we realized one of the biggest things with live television over, say, film, where you're generally using prime lenses, you obviously use zoom lenses, and when you zoom, the picture's changing, so it's curving at the edge at one end and then curving the other way, and it's sort of flat in the middle, and it depends on the lens and how much it curves. Depends a lot depending on where it is in the zoom and on the glass. So there's so many factors. So what we were doing to start off with, we've been doing this for quite a while. We actually started in previs with this technology, and it's been developed into live television. So we have been at it a while. We actually started developing this software in Trumbull Studios at his. If people know Douglas Trumbull from things like Silent Running and Back to the Future. He's like a real massive tech head, loves technology, and he's got a massive studio at his house. So we actually started in his studio and in essentially his garden. I mean, it's not a garden; it's like a farm. But we actually started writing the software like almost 10 years ago. I think it's a while anyway. But for previs essentially, and then it's been developed into live TV from there. So that was kind of cool. But yes, as I was saying, we initially started with this. We would send the lenses to our lab, and we would make the curves and we would save them. So you have a drop-down list of lenses to get through. And if you didn't have that lens, you need to send it to us and we would make a curve. But we've now added this real-time lens editor. So you can put a brand new lens on and you can make the curve and match it exactly to that lens. Even at the high-end lenses like the Canon HJ, there's still differences in the glass. It might only be minor, but being able to build a custom curve for that exact lens is, it's really great. Another one is color correction. So we have real-time color correction, and it's another massive thing for selling the virtual, right? So when you're standing in, you've got your real-time footage, your live camera over your graphics and they don't match in color, it's really frustrating. And obviously, when you're in post production, you can fix all that, but when you're in live TV, you can't. So we have real time color correction, and that really helps sell the virtual studio and make everything look like it's actually really together. That addition has really been massive. So Lucid is the actual interface we use to control the virtual studios. So zoom in there. So this can be used for XR, VS, and AR. It's the same application for all of them. And the idea is that it's a consistent interface for every production. So what I was saying earlier about you go from every location, and you can be, lighting guy, a camera guy, whatever you want to be. If you're the VS guy and it's a different piece of software at every location, it can be quite heartbreaking. And so the idea with ours is that, it will be this interface at each location. And once you've learned it, you can go to each location and do your job, essentially. So the way we've done it is it's a dynamic panel system, which you can drag and drop. And those panels are for different things. So this one is a calibration. So you can use this one to set up your tracking per camera, your mounting system. So you might have different types of mounts. So you might have a robot mixed with a physical one, different lenses, different graphics engine. You could be mixing renders, probably not, but you could be. You can assign different tracking devices per engine. You can set up your garbage mats, and you can do CCD centering offset. So as you click on your screw on your lens, it never quite goes in exactly the same place. So you can use the software to make a slight adjustment for that. You essentially zoom in and out and make adjustments for where that lens has gone on. As well as that, the other items you've got is you can pick up and move objects around the scene. You can set up events that trigger animations, visibility, robotic move even. So you can have a button that sends the physical camera to a location, and at the same time, you've got graphics flying in, you've got a video start playing, and you just press one button. And then we also have data integration as well. So we have, this is the interface that shows the buttons. So this is the operator. So the operator might just use on the left there, show open, and then the show might go in a really random order. So it could go all over the place, and then it might go to show end. Or you can have the sequencer where you have a really predictable show and you know it's going to go in order, then you can just run through the sequencer in order. But those buttons, as I say, could be firing all sorts of things, robots, lights, graphics, everything. So one of the other key things you can do in here is you can, while still on air, while still live, is you can go into the Unreal Engine and pick an object and move it. So if your talent won't stand on their mark and they keep clipping with stuff, you can just move stuff around them if they're not really getting it, which is always helpful. We also do a plugin for Unreal, and obviously that's for data integration, so you can actually have graphics reacting live to live data, such as XML, for example. We also do this is a bit of a weird one. We do a browser inside of the interface, and the reason why we do that is so for streaming, for example, you can see the stream, and we also support Stream Deck, and that is for controlling a stream, but also you can control our software through the Stream Deck. So if you prefer to press physical buttons, any of those events I showed you on the Lucid software can be fired from the Stream Deck instead. So that's obviously trying to keep everyone happy with the kind of modern interfaces, whether they prefer touchscreen or they prefer actual physical buttons. The Stream Decks are really, really great for that. Finally, just what's in the news, so something quite recently is we did the AR for the Tokyo Olympics, and obviously that went really well. It looked really great, and it was also in HDR, and NBC were super, super happy with that. So you can see from the quote I put there. I'm not going to read it out because that would just be awkward and weird. So that is our VS stuff in a really high speed stuff there. So if you've got questions, I'll try and come back to it. My specialty is actually another area of ours. So as I say, I'm a programmer designer. I don't actually do the VS and extended reality all that much anymore. I've kind of slid into this stuff which is what I've been working on a lot recently, which is the massive displays at stadiums. So as we come out of COVID, hopefully one day, we need to try to get people back into stadiums and events. And people have got so used to consuming this stuff from home. How do you get people back? So you have to try to offer them, something that gets them out of the comfort of their home. So we've been working on these big stadiums like the SoFi Stadium, Mercedes-Benz, and HyperX. And we've been doing these huge screens with loads of content, trying to bring that the funny thing is everyone used to be trying to get the stadium experience at home. Now we're trying to get the home experience back to the stadium. So everything's kind of reversed, but you're trying to get all that information now in a fun way that's engaging back into the stadium, so people actually get off their sofas and come to you. So this is where we currently sit in the market. The red ones are us. The gray ones will hopefully turn red one day. But those are the ones that we do. So you can see we've got a lot of the high end and middle and some of the bottom there. And those are massive screens, ridiculous sizes. I'll go through some after. So why do this? So you've got huge displays. I mean, they are absolutely massive. That you could fill with content. So that content is using our real-time render engine, one that we make ourselves, actually, called Expression Tessera. And we can fill that content in real time with real-time data and make it interactive and obviously customize the experience. And so it means either they can employ someone like me, or they can do it. We try to train people to do it themselves as well, and they can actually make the content, as I say, social media interaction, and we try to make it engaging. Essentially, what we're trying to do is get all that geeky content and make it as engaging possible. So even if you're someone who's gone along with a friend or a partner, or you're the kids, or you're their parents, and you're not really into the sport, we're trying to make it still fun and engaging for everyone who's at the stadium, no matter what your level of interest is in the sport. And we're trying to make it accessible and educational as well. So the technology itself is essentially this in a really simplified way. It all is based on our dashboard system, which we wrote a while ago to control our hardware and our software. And this can control everything, really. So as you can see here, it controls the graphics system, the cameras, even third-party devices. And we set it up so that someone who just knows the sport or the e-sport can sit down, and they don't need to do anything about cameras or graphics systems. They just plug in the numbers for what's going on in the game, and stuff happens in the stadium, and they're taken care of. Here's that same diagram, but in a more complex picture. So this is actually showing actual equipment that would be used to do a stadium like this. So I'm not going to read out the whole thing. If you want to read this slide, I recommend watching the video and just pausing it. I'm not going to spend ages reading a slide to you. So some reference sites. We have, this is the SoFi Stadium. So this is just nuts. I have to read my slide for this because it's not in my head. It's 70,000 square foot, which I can't remember what that is in actual proper measurements. This is in the US, so they use everything in feet. And it's dual-sided as well, and it's 80 million pixels, which are 8 millimeters apart. And so we control 80 million pixels in real time. And it's pretty nuts. And it's also a location for 2 different teams. So it's got it's LA Chargers and Rams, I think. And when it's the 2 different teams, they want it to feel like 2 different home grounds. And that was really key. And we were able to do that for them. There we go. Another location is the Mercedes-Benz. So this is actually what we wrote the software for. This is the guys. So we wrote Expression about 10 years ago as well. We were doing a lot 10 years ago. But we actually wrote Tessera for these guys. So Tessera, the meaning of Tessera is it's one square on a mosaic. And that's what it does. It creates mosaics. And so we made this for this 360 screen. It's 62 square feet circular, and it's a lot of pixels. I can't remember how many not anywhere near as many as the last one. This is in the sort of hundreds of thousands, not millions. So yeah, it's small fry compared to the other one I just showed you. And this is for the Atlanta Falcons and for their soccer team, Atlanta United FC. And that shows it. That just shows how big it is. That's the stadium at the bottom there, and that's the screen at the top there. It's quite big. It's so big actually that the roof is like opens like a lens, and that lens didn't work until they hung the screen, and that made everything heavy enough, and then the roof worked. Yeah, it's kind of crazy engineering beyond my level, completely nuts. We also do Tottenham Hotspurs in the UK. This is key because this site turns between being a football, like as in European proper football, and the NFL. So NFL now visits the UK a few times a year, and it transforms the whole stadium from football traditional to NFL, and it has to feel like a home ground for whoever they've chosen to be the home team. So yeah, we control that. There's a little sample video of it going on. So you guys know how football works. So I'm going to skip on. And there's a bigger screen to show you guys. Finally, we've got here the State Farm Arena. So this is a basketball court, and we're controlling all of the visuals you can see down in that video. So that was a pretty cool one to get some basketball. It shows it bigger. That area in the middle, that screen is called the chandelier, and it drops down and goes up, and it actually has video on the bottom too. So if you're down courtside, you can look up and you can actually watch the screens that face down towards you. It's pretty crazy. This was cool as well, the Oilers. We put screens everywhere, including outside. So in the concourse, that's us as well. Then we have the United Center, the Chicago Bulls and Blackhawks. This screen is nuts. It's on the outside and the inside, and that's hanging in the middle. Then we do the concourse, and we actually do the outside of the building. And then this is the Chase Center. So we do all those crazy big boards inside. And then somehow, I don't know how they got permission, but they do that massive screen on the outside of the stadium as well. And I don't know how they got permission because of traffic, like people driving by it with a TV playing, but they did, and it works, so that's cool. And then the Allegiant Stadium, so for the Raiders, we do all the screens in there. Not a huge amount to say, except it's really cool. And then again in Vegas is the HyperX Esports Arena, so we control all the screens in there. And I'm just going to quickly finish up. And so I work for the design team, which is Rocket Surgery, and you can employ us, and we'll come and build all your stuff for you and just hand it to you, and it's done. But if you are someone who prefers to do it yourself, we sell the technology, and then we have training teams and tech teams that will support you while you learn to do it yourselves. And then you can call us for help and for advice, but we just leave you guys to it, and hopefully you do it. So yeah, I think I'm going to finish there. I feel like I've rambled enough. Hopefully everyone's caught up with me. I got faster because I got nervous, so I do that. So hopefully I didn't lose people too much. You can always ask me questions. Thanks everyone for listening to me ramble. Thank you.